In the barren land she undressed herself, fertile to the bone. She lay awake upon the earth alone, suffering for the dead and dying. All in me I cannot eat, full of death and bodies churning. Floating on the lake, ghosts older than even time. What I cannot know is coming in the moonlight in golden bodies upon the surface. Black twisting snakes crowned in the fallen stars. This is where they live, inside. This is where she goes naked to feed the hungry herself. To the ghosts that float upon the water, she watches as the moon exchanges itself with the sun, and life sets another body free into death's milky black lake. I mourn myself and all the deaths within. I write the words that will find me someday nearer to you. Moon on the water, that unforgettable face, keeps changing, leaving me slowly dying into a dream of myself. Asleep underwater, majestic and writhing to the ghosts of the deep that slither through water. The serpentine bodies that live under the moon, bearing the sun as he reaches into her, pulling out another bone. Piece by piece I fall, little star, blood on the mirror, so you wouldn't understand how gods underwater are made, from within. I hold you, drown you in deified pain. I twist you until you burn. I lay upon you until you are still, starving ghost, food body. Nothing left but my indescribable love, love which is only a thought that dies underwater. She fell through the earth, mind, and the lake was the sky where the stars held the person together long enough to be given to the night she left behind, hiding herself inside of me. Heir to the throne, pale blue body, I live underneath you, deep in the hole. I want everything inside of me, waiting for morning as if an ancient bird could be heard. There is the sound of wings, but no song, only howling. And I understand you, I really do. This lake is my stomach and I cannot sleep, not while they roam, suffering with no one to hear them. Hungry, I feed myself to you. All you ever wanted was me at the bottom of this blackness, giving you eyes of light that were unafraid of the snake that lies coiled and waiting for another beautiful naked girl to fall like a star through this heavy sky. Into the center of the molten spiral, the world that goes downward, where she is the fire queen that drew the star, where he waits on the floor of these waters, where love is real and so devouring as if there was nobody ever there at all. No cold girl clinging as his body winds around hers, no black serpent, no golden weaving thread. Nothing but stillness in me. I do see you. I really do hear the sound. And so we float and go on dying. And the way we do that is up to us. How we surrender, how we transmute, transform, transpire. What we focus our gaze upon, what moves us to action, what is it that we can and cannot live without? How will we take what we are made of and create something out of that? Because this universe is in me. This darkness, this light is in me. This is the yoga. The yoga is what we create with the universe, within ourselves, however we find it at the moment. It's like what we create and what we destroy. This is Sharada Devi, and I cut my hair, and I'm cutting away all dead things as they come up, as I see them, as they rise to the surface of these dark waters. As I feel what I feel, whether it be misunderstood or grief or devotion, I will use that as a fuel for the fire of transmutation into the rainbow body of light that is the goal of the human consciousness, to let go of the heavy weight the unnecessary burdens of our mind, and become that mother light in every flaming moment, no matter how it appears, no matter how reckless or ruthless, no matter how placid or peaceful, is that we engage it, that we engage the edge, wherever that edge leads us and wherever we find ourselves, that we create the most clarity as possible. And how I feel that is done is by really going into the moment as fully as that moment is, being as human as humanly possible, and letting that serpent wind itself around our heart, and letting that serpent rise, and letting that serpent speak. The divine, flaming, light serpent, not the serpent that lies coiled beneath the rock in the dark places of our consciousness. No, because we lift up that rock fearlessly. We lift up that rock that keeps our shadows buried. And things in our lives lift up that rock. And when we find what is there, we are the master of our own becoming. Is that what we do with what we find is really the beauty that we become, that we allow ourselves to become, because it is not the darkness and the pain and suffering that we are filled with that makes us not beautiful. It's how we deal with our suffering and our pain and our misconceptions about ourselves. It's how we deal with it. It's how we dance with the darkness. And I don't mean engage it. I mean transmute it. I mean make it useful to all sentient beings by doing something beautiful with it. Transmutation. It's alchemical. It's the creative process that we are to engage if we are to enter, from my perspective, a meaningful spiritual life. And that is relative depending on where we're at. And so how close we can get to those dark corners depends on us. And the closer we get to those darker corners, the more opposition, the more resistance we're going to encounter. The more people are going to misunderstand and judge us, most likely simply because by doing that, we're doing something very dangerous to the species. Why we're all here in the first place, pretending something's going on meaningful, when really we're just on the road to death, pretending we're not dying with every breath. But we are. And so, living on the edge of life by realizing that every moment we move closer to death makes us a living being, not the walking dead, not the gray ones who are in denial. But when you can live on that edge, that sharp edge of knowing, and you can take every moment of confusion as fearlessly as possible and do whatever you need to do with that in that creative process as uncensored as possible, despite all opposition around you. You bring peace to the turmoil. You bring peace to that ocean. And so, no, Bhagwan Das is not making the videos with me anymore. I'm not with Bhagwan Das. Don't ask me questions, please, about it on YouTube, because I'm kind of tired of it. I've said enough. If you want to read about it, go to my blog. I'm not really looking for counseling or advice or clarification on my decision or on my anger, which I do not have toward this person. So again, misunderstandings. And so I don't want to talk about that. I've said enough. And I'm setting an example the best way that I can for the most people. For those who hear will hear, for those who don't won't. And all I can do is keep moving forward because I don't have a choice. So regardless of the lack of support or regardless of the lack of effectiveness or being really deeply understood in a way that makes what I do feel meaningful to me. It's just that, and this is out to everybody. Like, we can't decide how people react to us doing our dharma. It's just that we have to know ourselves and do what we do. We have to do ourselves. And whatever happens around us, so be it, because you can't constantly try to fit into what's going to work for other people. If you know who you are and if you trust yourself, you're going to have to live in that space of aloneness by being that kind of innovator, really, by being the one, because no one is the one going to go out there and truly be themselves. They're going to constantly seek approval and constantly going to doubt themselves. And it's like, we may sometimes do things not perfectly, but what we can do perfectly is trust ourselves no matter what we're doing, to be guided because of our intention. Back on track. Okay, trust your heart. So I do what I do, and I say what I say, and I write how I write, because that's my personality. And that's how I find myself to make an effect. So if that may not suit your temperament, or you may twist it for your convenience so that you can believe what you want to believe, or whatever, keep your world intact, I can't change that. I can only be myself and do myself. So we've been going this long, how long have I been making the sacrifice for something beyond the mundane, which even the mundane I spiritualize the best I can. But what I mean by mundane is, I mean selling out for the sake of a spiritual family. Yeah, if there was one, it wouldn't be a big one, because we're in a place of materialism and contrived behavior and posturing and power tripping and impurity. Impurity meaning denial and motivation. What's the motivation? And if a person could get close enough to the purity of their heart to really understand their intentions, they may understand why it is they're doing what they're doing. But this social movement isn't what I'm talking about. I'm talking about something much deeper that is very hard to come by these days. Something much more true, no matter how it appears on the outside. Something moving in the direction of going through the darkness head on and skillfully, instead of twisting it and wrapping it up and blessing everybody and judging everybody and being self-righteous and teaching everybody. It's like, I am so tired of people trying to teach me something and give me advice or pray for me. I appreciate prayers, but not because I'm confused, even though I'm sure I have a level of confusion, as do we all. But I'm not looking for a teacher, okay? Not from those people who are dealing with their life in a way differently than I do. I welcome a teacher that has the same view on this reality as I do, or a view beyond it, or someone who brings me clarity, or someone who keeps me in check. That's all I ever wanted. But as far as like a social thing where there's just like almost hostility with a smile, the namaste with a smile, it's like the power tripping, the evil behind it all. It's like about as spiritual as, I don't know, Satan. Like, I find an ordinary person more spiritual who isn't trying to be spiritual than I find some egomaniac power tripper trying to guide me back in line and make me understand what a bodhisattva really is, or whatever. Like, I'm going to answer for my cause, and I feel good about that. So I appreciate support. I appreciate everybody. But what I don't have time for and I'm weary of is I'm not going to justify my behavior, and I'm also not going to defend myself. I do what I do out of love, a deep love, whether you want to believe me or not. And I'm going to go with it. I've come this far. I know what I've done. I know what I've been through. I know what works for myself. All we ever know is what works for ourselves. Okay, we can't judge anyone else until we've been in their shoes, just like they all say. And I will continue on the path of transformation, transmutation, and divine love that stems from a wisdom driven by compassion. Okay? The essence of what all of it means is so far beyond the words that are spoken, and it is so far beyond posturing and saying the right thing. It is about living and being the presence of that truth, of that creative force, of the divine, feminine, of the mother light. And that means a commitment to the truth. However, that truth changes moment by moment. It means embodying the movement of the serpent of light. And however that movement goes, that we go with it out of trust, because we have done the work, which is a very important aspect, is that we have done the work to purify. And that purification never ends, meaning always getting the lack of clarity out of the way so that clarity can move through us. And that's what I mean by purity. I don't mean being good or saying things the right way, because clearly I don't, according to many. But I have clarity as far as I'm concerned, and that's all that matters. So, that we continue to clarify the serpent, that we continue to transmute the pain and suffering of our own lives and misconceptions, that we continue to move it upward, that we continue to grow and create and prosper, that we accept conditions and accept our limitations, and yet we also transcend our limitations by what we do inside of them. That in itself changes what the limitation actually is. So yeah, I've got so many limitations I can barely breathe from one perspective. But from another perspective, at the exact same time, nothing is going to limit me and nothing is going to stop me, okay, from exploding the shroud I live within called human existence. Okay? Nothing is going to stop me from blowing the sky open, no matter how limited I am, because I am limitless when I know that that is possible for each and every one of us, that we will take the steps that are way beyond religion, that we will take the steps of truth to create, fearlessly express ourselves, shamelessly be ourselves, and embody the divine that we were born to embody. We have no other reason to be here but to shine that rainbow light and to be that mothering love, no matter how it looks, to not defend ourselves or justify ourselves or posture or look for approval, not to get too shaken up by disapproval. And the key, like I said, is to watch our choices and so it's like, put the facts together. I'm a factually based person. Like, it's just facts. Like, put the facts together. If I continue to do this when I'm 20, by the time I'm 40, no matter how healthy I am now, I'm going to be less healthy when I'm 40. But if I start when I'm 20 doing this, by the time I'm 40, I'm going to be a stronger, better person. See, we got to go against gravity. We got to be grave, and we got to have the roots, but we also got to transcend gravity, that thing that would pull us down. Because as our body gets older, our spirit should grow lighter, because we've released a lot of the karmic residue that we brought here to this earth to resolve. So, do the math, put it together. 1 plus 1 kind of usually does equal 2. You know, like, write it down. Be like, if I do this, I'm going to get this. Like, you're going to do this, you're going to get a result. Okay, you keep every day doing little things that make you more today than what you were, meaning expand it, build your character. It doesn't matter what other people see. It's that we build our character, that we are what we are within, so solid and fearless that there is no little person left fighting to be there. There is just everything. We can call that God, the Mother Light. We can call that love or the Buddha. We don't need to call it anything, is what I'm saying. Because by being that spacious nothingness, we are the heaviest, greatest everything there could ever be, and a source of inspiration and healing, no matter how we are seen by other people's warped perception, okay? But you have to know in your heart that you've done everything you could do and live and die in that peace. It's that you got to do everything that you can do. You got to be true to yourself. You got to be honest with yourself. And you gotta write the songs that your heart can sing. Okay? So, I'm just testing out this new camera and I will make more videos. Thank you. And they'll be different than this. They will be just the outpouring of my love for you. Okay? Thank you. Om.